Welcome to Bougie and Boring, a spa business podcast. I'm Amanda, your coach and a fellow spa owner. I help estheticians create a business that is elevated and effortless, or what I like to call bougie and boring. If you want a spa that pays you well and does not depend on you 24/7, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it. Hey, Pamela, welcome back to Bougie and Boring. I'm so excited to have you back to talk about what the realistic first month of Meta ads looks like for a spa. And to just jump right in and get us started, can you walk us through what Meta's learning phase kind of looks like in a way that maybe someone who's never heard of or done any type of Meta ads before?
Yeah. So the learning phase happens, it's usually when the account is newer, or the objective and audience, is something that's not been done before. And usually again, it's like a newer, like account. Occasionally this can happen like on existing accounts too, but it's when you try to start like publishing and Meta, delivers an ad, or tries to deliver the ad. So there's a point where there's like a learning phase, and then it'll switch in your ads at your ad level. So in just to get a little bit more technical about it, to hopefully like, create a better like image of what that looks like and where the learning phase takes over is, or where it happens and when you can see updates about it is, so when you're creating an ad inside of your ad account on Meta, so you've got the campaign level, then underneath that, you got your ad set level, which is short for like the audience group or groups, that you're testing in. And then underneath that, situated in those, is your ads. So each campaign has various audiences, and then each audience has ads inside of it. And so those ads inside of it can be in learning mode, where Meta is essentially trying to like optimize and learn like who and what it's going to be delivering to. I know it's kind of tricky to explain because, like, in the sense you're like, okay, like I've outlined my audience, but sometimes with Advantage Plus, which is really a big thing in Meta now, it'll start to optimize. You can choose to use Advantage Plus audience sets, and you don't give any sort of like descriptors. And at that point, it chooses and figures out who's been responding to your ad in particular and well. And then eventually, sometimes you'll get out of learning mode right away, and get into delivery. That also happens more so when you do have like specific audiences outlined already and for your ad. So delivery mode is still gonna, there's still gonna be some optimization, and that's where you can decide from there, as the person or the individual running the account or running the ads, what exactly you're going to do with this information. If it's coming back and looking like you need to tweak things, if some ads are still working, if some audiences are still working. But once you're in delivery mode, that's when you can start making determinations out of the data that you're getting back in all of the metrics. But in learning mode, you're not getting enough like information, and the delivery is not of the ads is not happening quite yet.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully that's a little bit more illuminating, but and when you look for the status of that, that's at the ad level. So not campaign, not ad set, but finally at the ad level, it'll kind of show you what the status of that is.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, wow, this goes a lot deeper than I thought. So learning mode, you're not actually running ads yet.
You've published the ads, but Meta might almost like put the training wheels on it for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
For like an undetermined amount of time to you, the person, that's
Okay.
running the ads. And so sometimes it's like 24 hours, sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's a little bit longer. And
Okay.
sometimes when you already have your ads set up and your ad account has been running for a while, then it'll just go straight to delivery mode. And it's to hopefully maybe illustrate this a little even better, is that like it's a mode that your campaign is in before it starts actually delivering your ads.
Okay. Okay. And so this is for someone who's like brand spanking new. You just created this ads account in Meta and before you make your first ad, then that's what this is, this learning phase.
So it's actually once you've made the ad and hit publish, it'll almost, the way that I say is like kind of put the training wheels on it, where in the sense that like it's still kind of figuring out where and who and how to deliver your ad to before it starts doing the 100% of delivery. Where it's like, okay, like I figured out who exactly, I think Meta is going to figure out who exactly it's delivering to. And I think the learning mode, I think, is kind of tricky because it sounds like it happens before you publish the ads, but it's actually the when you publish your ads and they go live, it's
Okay.
like the initial 24 hours, maybe less, maybe more. And it
Okay.
doesn't necessarily have to happen with new accounts, especially if you already have detailed targeting in your audiences. And so what detailed targeting is more so say like I'm looking for women between the ages of like 25 to 45 and they're interested in skincare or facials, things like that. Advantage plus targeting is something Meta has developed, and it's like a formulaic algorithm where it will kind of fill in your audience details for you. And you maybe just want to put like age and gender, but it'll see who maybe is starting to respond to your ad and then kind of running with that. It'll optimize for that. So if you're doing detailed targeting, that's without Advantage Plus. And sometimes you can incorporate a little bit of that, but typically you won't be in as much of learning mode, if at all, with that.
Okay.
And so that's when you actually go to publish your ads. It'll be like in learning mode for a little bit and figuring things out. Meta will be, and then eventually it'll end up just straight delivery.
Okay. And so is learning mode like something that you can actually see as the ads manager? Can you see the like when it's on or off? Is it that clear?
Yeah, sorry. That's what I was trying to hopefully illustrate is like when you open up your ad account and you'll see like campaigns and ad sets, and then there's ads, there's like a status that it'll show it to you. And
Okay.
that it'll, in those columns, for your metrics, it'll show you like, oh, it's in learning mode, or the ad is paused, or the ad is delivering, or the campaign is, sometimes it'll be like in progress. Because when you publish an ad, it takes a little while for like Meta to approve it. And it
Yeah.
also depends on, honestly, I feel like the time of year and the time of day.
Yes.
And so these, like, that's the status that will show up. These are like a variety of these statuses that will show up. And also it makes sure that like the Meta like algorithm and bots can figure out, make sure that like your content in your ad is appropriate and not violating any guidelines,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so then I think I got the understanding of, I think you called it Advantage Plus.
Hmm.
Is that kind of, from what I understand of what you described it as, it sounds like if you don't have maybe an audience descriptor or like the way that because you can ask the ads to be delivered to people who like yoga and they also like healthy foods and, Trader Joe's and, just all the random things. And it
Hmm.
sounds like this,
Advantage plus.
Advantage Plus. It sounds
Yeah.
like this is like, you don't have to do any of that. It's going to actually see who is most likely to respond to it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. And to further, I don't want to say like complicate things, but to create things like even more specific, you can turn on Advantage Plus targeting for your audiences. Like you talked about, like the demographics with the interests, location. But separately from that, meaning like you can have Advantage Plus on or off or enabled for either of these for your audience demographics and interests or for placements. So
Oh,
sometimes you can say, all right, well, I want to see like what placements people might be responding to this better and like what is more cost effective. And so Advantage Plus also can run for placements like in ad reels, like search results in Meta, also Facebook feed, Instagram feed. So, and it'll also split this up specifically. You can do this yourself. You can split it up and manually choose placements, or let the meta algorithm kind of like run once you've published the ads, kind of like run with it and use Advantage Plus to see like, okay, like what, like how can I make this work for your ad delivery system? Sometimes it works okay depending on like what you're trying to like what your budget is, who you're trying to target necessarily, and like the geolocation you're trying to target. That meaning like national, like the whole of the United States versus like maybe a 25-mile radius. Um, so that's where sometimes Advantage Plus placements like kind of switch things up when it comes to placements in particular,
Yeah.
or doing the demographics. But that's what Advantage Plus is. It's more the algorithm figuring itself out and like optimizing for you, and then coming back and saying like, "Hey, this is what I've learned. Like, is this like?" And then you kind of read that data and you're like, "Okay, maybe we're not reaching like the threshold we're looking for in our goals. Like, let's turn some of this off and some of these algorithm features off, or hey, no, this is working really well. Let's optimize more for this."
Okay. Wow,
Hmm.
that is incredible. I did not know that that was something that was available right now.
Yeah.
That yeah, it sounds it and I think that's really really interesting because for example, I know many spa owners that think, "Oh, I find most of my clients on TikTok. I hear a lot." And then which I know is not Meta at all, obviously,
Uh-huh.
but I should probably
But
stick to Meta actually. So,
the ad account setup is similar that I've even over the years I've like thought about like because like the way Meta works so well, that yeah, anyways, like TikTok has like got on board with the same sort of delivery and the same sort of setup.
okay, wow. Well, that's good
So
to know.
anyways, yeah.
So let's say for example, I for the longest time thought that my ideal client lived on Instagram, specifically in the feed.
Uh-huh.
And I hear this a lot that, oh, my client's not on my, ideal client is not on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. And then this would be so interesting to run those ads and then have those clients come in and see, wow, actually, it's like I love the people that have been coming in. They're actually, and those ads were strategically placed in maybe stories of Facebook or like, all the other different places that you mentioned. And I think it will give you so much data that you can make an informed decision and even put organic
Mm-hmm.
marketing into those areas because it will tell you that your clients are, that's where they're looking
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
instead of just kind of like
Or
feeling where they might be. You actually
yes,
have the
or that
data.
like data group, like exactly, like you're like, oh, okay, like I didn't think my audience was hanging out there, or that this would be like an area that would respond. And that's where like the data is more
Hmm.
helpful in that sense.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. Oh my gosh, that was just like the first question that I asked, and I
Sorry, yeah. I
so
was like,
good. That is
we could get
so good.
really technical and
Yeah.
but I also feel like hopefully I always want to be helpful in describing these things out because yeah, it seems simple, but then I feel like once you get into the ad account, you're like, oh, okay, like it's not as straightforward as just like punching some numbers in and like punching some interest in and then like hitting publish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh, it's definitely not that easy. I mean, that would be wonderful, but I also
yes,
think people
exactly.
pay, big money to have it
Hmm.
be like so detailed. Doesn't Instagram or Meta in general, don't they pick up on what is it like 50,000 touch points a day or something insane?
Yeah, it's a huge amount. I don't know the number. but still, because we were just kind of like talking about TikTok, and I think
Hmm.
TikTok is definitely effective. And I haven't seen how the data necessarily, because I work primarily with Meta, is
Hmm.
on like what things are local versus like national, or like e-commerce versus services. Um, but I do feel, and especially also when things have changed from the ownership, and if the algorithm has like changed a little bit, when the TikTok changed hands. But yeah, I think Meta in particular is definitely still the like, because that's the combination of Facebook and Instagram. I think still that's like the biggest pool of touch points
Yeah.
at this
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Okay. So just sticking with, because I have so many directions I can take this, but I really want to take
Yeah.
it. I want to keep it in the first month of what ads
Yes.
will look like. What, so can you walk me through what a spot owner can realistically expect to see in week one, two, three, four, and what does the data that each week, and it might not be very much data. I wouldn't, I don't know. But what does the data typically look like when, as the algorithm is figuring out who to show your ads to?
Mm. Yeah, I'd say assuming that like the first week is like the ads are turned on, they're live and they're
Hmm.
getting delivered. They're out of
Hmm.
that like learning phase, they're out of um any sort of like approval. You're actually like delivering, because also the other thing is like sometimes ad account, if you're a fresh brand new ad account, you may have had a Facebook business page or an Instagram page, but you may have not had an ad account or business assets within the Meta
Yes.
Business Suite. So that's assuming that that's all taken care of. And sometimes there's some waiting periods with that, because Facebook Meta in general wants to make sure you're not like scamming, creating accounts to scam other individuals online. So
Hmm.
assuming that's all taken care of and like you've created your ads and they're out of like draft mode, they're out of the learning phase, they're in delivery. And sometimes, like I said, we were like just talking about different reasons how you can get out of that stuff quicker or faster or longer. It just sometimes depends on these different variables. In the first week, usually you're kind of looking for impressions, and that's like a metric in your ad account that can kind of show you how many touch points that your ad creative and copy individually is getting. And so I think you'll start to see those numbers go up. And then as you see those numbers go up, you're going to see how these other numbers correlate to that. And at that point, then you can start to make some determinations of like, okay, is this creative? The images, the video, like, is this stuff like capturing people's attention enough to like stop and view the ad? And the other thing then is like you can look at some of these numbers to see like, okay, is this text, somebody stopped to like look at my ad, but like, is this text like bringing them through to the next step and getting them to click? So within the first week, you're just going to be looking to make sure that like you're getting enough impressions and that you've spent some money to like make determinations before like freaking out and saying like, oh yeah, like this did not work at all. Or like, oh yeah, that's, I think that's like sometimes the panic.
Yes.
As well. And so you want to make sure that that's going well. Also, that being said, like you want to make sure your campaign objective is for the right thing, because sometimes accruing these impressions, if you have a huge audience base, accruing these impressions might take longer because Meta is trying to find the right people. Meta's trying to make sure that, like, out of all these hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people, if you're looking from like a national perspective, that it would be that it takes a while. But for like a local spa owner, if you're optimizing for something like sales or leads, those impressions might get there faster, just because like your pool is smaller, and then also your objective isn't as isn't as costly. So kind of like how when I say that, like sometimes we talk about the cost of like acquiring a new client, like a meta ads, like not related at all. Just like
Hmm.
in the spa business, like how much does it cost to get like a new client like on your table? It's kind of the same thing. Like there is a cost to like getting the campaign objective of a sale. So that means like you might start seeing like those numbers like take a little bit of time to come in to find the right clients that are stopping and looking at your ad and clicking, and then Meta recognizes like, oh, those people, okay, and that's how much it costs you to get those people, and like then we got to keep building off of that. The other thing I'd say is like you can optimize, your objective can be just to get your account warmed up and get some views. Those impressions might skyrocket because it's not as expensive just to get somebody to view your website, or to view your page. It's that transition from getting that person from your website to actually booked and in your room is more costly and takes a little bit more time. So that's why I'd say like in the first week to kind of like expect for like, especially with a brand new account, that things might need to be like warmed up a little bit to get some awareness out there about your business. And then like in the actual digital meta landscape,
Yeah.
and then start making some more decisions on like where you want to go next. If it's a sales campaign, a lead campaign, or if you're already at that point, like in maybe like week 2 or 3, then going from there and saying like, okay, like what does this like creative look like? Is it getting engagement? Is it stopping people in the scroll to say and getting them to read my copy and click my link? Are people dropping off somewhere in that funnel? Things like that. So I'd say like it was a little bit of patience in that first week, and then just being aware of what's going on so that way you're not like panicking. Because I think
Right.
sometimes it can get like nerve-wracking to be like, okay, like I've put this out there, like why am I not getting like calls? I think I've related to this before where it's like when you're like a new spot and you're trying to get physical clients like the old-fashioned way, you have to kind of like network and maybe send out emails, and somebody like forwards your email
Hmm.
with like some sort of like promo, and it takes time to kind of like disseminate into the world and then kind of come back to you, and then you see
Yeah.
like, oh, that promo did really well, or like these groups of people seemed really responsive. The same kind of strategy is happening just in the digital like world of meta. So that's why I think sometimes, so when someone's like might be panicking like a little bit, you're like, no, it's just like it's just taking time to like go through these different steps and pathways.
That is such a great way to describe it. I think that's a common thing that I have experienced and then also heard from other spa owners who will say things like, ah, it's been on for at least 3 weeks and nothing has happened. And part of it is because maybe they are trying to do it themselves. And there are, you can absolutely do them yourself. I think personally, I'm past that point in business where I don't have the desire to learn how to do it myself. I know enough to be dangerous, that is for sure. Like I know what you mean when you say copy and impressions and campaigns and all the things, right? But I think when you have someone working on it that knows what to look for and knows that, oh, this is only week 1, this is only week 2. And when you see and hear that things are basically the way that they should be, which is not that nothing is happening, but they're going through the motions, just like what you said. Like it needs to, you're casting a net and it takes a while to pull that net back to you. It just depends on
Yeah.
how many layers of the net you have, and the
Yeah.
net is your ad essentially. And so,
Yeah.
um,
And
okay.
I think the other thing is we're so used to like maybe seeing content go viral, but
Oh,
in the sense of like organic social media, we're like,
yeah.
oh, we had that one post that just like really blew up. And so like ads don't really work in that sense. Yeah, there might be something that works really well, and then you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, like keep putting the budget and the audience all in that. But then sometimes that model like fizzles out, and then you have to tweak again. So that's why I try to like bring it back to like real world experience.
Mm-hmm.
On like, yeah, casting a net and being able to acquire clients and like the physical like networking person to person kind of realm. And so I'd say like with ads, it's similar. It takes like a little bit of time to build. It's not, and same thing I'd say for like organic social media, like not every post is gonna go viral. At some point you hit like the right like audience, you hit the right content, and then you're like, cool, they really responded to this. Like I'm gonna try to do more of that.
Yeah.
And then I'm not an expert in organic social media, but I know sometimes when you're like, I've created the perfect thing and it's gonna do great, and then sometimes like that's cricket and something random works really well. Um,
Yes.
so and that's where the testing a lot comes in with ads too. It's like, okay, we're gonna test this and see how it goes. We've seen this works well in this industry, so we're gonna like recreate that, test it out in the beginning, see what we need to tweak for our audience, and then go from there.
Nice. Yes. Okay. So then if a spa owner doesn't see any bookings or traction, just depending on what the goal is, I'm assuming it's going to be more leads, more bookings in the first 2 weeks. That does not mean that the ad is failing. It just means
Good
it's
question.
still, right? Like it's just still, you're still
Yeah.
reeling the net in, maybe?
Yes, I'd say like you go instead of by have I sold something or not, or have I booked something or not, or have I acquired a lead or not. It's more so have enough people seen this, and then
Ah,
if enough people have seen this, like what does the data look like in relation to how many people have seen it? Because if a lot of people have seen it and nothing's kind of come through yet, and the numbers kind of reflect a little bit more, like we said, if the images are stopping the scroll for people
mm-hmm.
on their feed, or if the copy, if then yeah, maybe the scroll is being stopped, but then the copy is not carrying them through to actually taking action in the call to action. That's where you get some more details there. Another thing is if your audience is huge, if it's like a massive pool of people, then sometimes it's maybe just not being seen by enough people yet, and you might be spending too much to see like
Okay.
for this audience. So then you might have to like narrow things down a little bit more. In the terms of like spas, usually like you're trying to have like a more like local radius and range. Usually you want to just make sure you're being seen by enough people, and then knowing, okay, like, all right, if I've been seen by enough people now and I haven't had things kind of work out yet with like leads or bookings, then I know that I have to tweak some things. And usually you'll kind of look at the numbers that show you, okay, are things, is my image working well, my image or my video, or if that's working okay, like is the copy working well? And then also auditing your funnel just to make sure that like it's not like a long, complicated funnel, and that your campaign objective, that Meta can optimize for that funnel. So things like that. So looking at making sure the funnel is working well, and then looking at, and that also that like your ads being seen enough. That's what I'd kind of like pay
Okay.
attention to in the first couple of weeks.
Okay. Those are really big things. Those are really important things to keep track of. And we actually have talked about a funnel and like
Yep.
what it means and what is at each step of a funnel. So if anyone's interested in that, you can go back and listen to that episode. I'll have it linked down below. But just in wrapping up this episode, if you could tell a spa owner one thing before they run their first ad, what would you tell them?
Ooh, okay. I feel like there's so many things, but then not necessarily like there's so many things that like it's urgent for them to know. I've been in those shoes and I was like, oh, like I wish I knew this or I wish I knew that, or like,
Mm-hmm.
and just hindsight's always 2020. So I'd say like the thing in for a spot owner, like in the first week of running ads, is just making sure that once you're in the running ad phase, besides like setting up your account, sometimes that takes a little bit of time, but like running the ads is just having that little bit of patience, probably, just to say like, we're not expecting things to just go viral. They work in proportion of like your budget and your objective and your funnel. So just making sure that is all set up into the best of our abilities and looking at the data without having any sort of like drama attached to it, and making decisions from that data from there, and just making sure that like you're able to like have like a little bit of patience around that initial kind of like warming up of your account, to be honest.
Okay.
Sometimes when it's like that fresh ad account, like Meta's like, hey, you're the new kid on the block, like you can only spend about $25 a day. So like things aren't going to necessarily just like pop off overnight like a
Yeah.
viral organic social media post.
Okay. So patience. Be patient and don't quit too
Yeah.
early, too.
Yes. Yeah. Because yeah. Because I think then you can miss out on qualified like
Yeah.
leads and
Yeah.
sales if you're selling something, and just have to work harder. Like I think the ads will be working smarter for you overall.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Pamela. This was very insightful. I feel like I always learn a little something every time we talk about ads. It's just so I mean, I know enough to be dangerous, but there's always something new. It seems just around the corner. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing your
Yeah.
knowledge with us.
Thanks for having me. And I feel like exactly you hit the nail on the head. That's why I'm like, oh, if there's one thing I could tell like spa owners, I'm like, there's so much I could tell, but I'm like, I really got to distill it into like patience. So I'm glad that we can like learn a little bit more over time, and
Yeah.
hopefully give everybody like a little bit more like awareness and peace of mind when it comes to like running ads and expectations around them.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
If you enjoyed this episode, then you'll really enjoy my free training where I show you the exact system that I use in my own spa to pay myself more. Head on over to amandaluisaconsulting.com/more to download today. I'll see you next week on Bougie and Boring.